So you know about Reggie Miller's 8 points in 9 seconds, and about Tracy McGrady's 13 points in 35 seconds, but what about Rodney Rogers' 9 points in 9 seconds for the Denver Nuggets? It came on February 8, 1994 in a regular season game against the Jazz. With just about 30 seconds remaining in the game, the Nuggets were trailing by 8 points.
Back to Rogers, it's a three-pointer, and it's good. Rodney with his second long range.
They get the D now, get a steal. Oh, yes.
They got the steal. Look at that, Scott Rogers. He'll pull up, same spot, same result.
Let's go, 2-point game. You don't need to foul, though.
There's another steal. Rogers will try another three. Oh my God! No! Can you believe that?
The trifecta of 3-pointers put the Nuggets up by 1 point, but just on the other end, the Jazz were able to make the game-winning shot, and it's why many of you have never heard of this crazy moment in Denver Nuggets history. We all know that Kobe Bryant is one of the most explosive scorers of all time, and no game sums that up better than his historic 81-point performance against Toronto. The thing is, in that game, Kobe had 53 points through 3 quarters. Believe it or not, Kobe actually had 4 other games where he had more than 50 points through just 3 quarters. But in each of those games, he sat out the entirety of the fourth due to the Lakers winning by a significant margin. In January of 2002, Kobe scored 56 through 3 quarters against the Memphis Grizzlies. In February of 2003, Kobe dropped 51 through 3 on the Denver Nuggets. In December of 2005, Kobe single-handedly outscored the Dallas Mavericks through 3 quarters with a total of 62 points. And in December of 2006, Kobe scored 52 points against the Utah Jazz, and at one point, the Mamba made 11 straight shots without a miss. So although Kobe has the incredible 80-point game on his resume, the truth is he could have had several of them if he really wanted to. We all know that Michael Jordan tends to take things personally and is an extremely vengeful player, but what's interesting is that people rarely talk about the first instance in the NBA where Michael Jordan planned his revenge. It started in his rookie year in the 5th game of the regular season against the Denver Nuggets. Assigned to guard Jordan was the 6'4" shooting guard T.R. Dunn. Many of you have never heard of him, but at the time, Dunn was one of the best defenders in the entire league, as he was in the process of earning his 3rd straight All-Defense Team selection. On this night, Dunn got the best of Jordan as he held him to only 17 points on 7 of 15 from the field, and the Nuggets won the game. An angry Jordan marked his calendar for his next matchup with the Nuggets, which was 2 months later. Jordan went on to torch T.R. Dunn with 35 points, 15 assists, 14 rebounds, and 3 steals on roughly 69% shooting, and the Bulls won the game. It wasn't just Jordan's first revenge game, but it was also the first triple-double of his career. Bulls coaching staff would later go on to say that the message to T.R. Dunn was, quote, sent and received. It was the night of December 12, 2002 in Oklahoma City. A man by the name of Eric Torpy and his 2 buddies drive past a Little Caesars pizza restaurant. It's at this moment that Eric and his buddies decide that it would be a good idea to rob the employee in the store. Eric's buddy shoots a couple employees and Eric ditches the scene. But unfortunately for Eric, he dropped his hat. Police find the hat, and a few months later, Eric's DNA is traced back to him, and he ends up in prison, sentenced to 30 years. Eric was a loyal Celtics fan and a Larry Bird fan, and Bird wore the jersey number 33. So Eric did what any logical Celtics fan would do, and request the judge to extend his sentence to 33 years to honor his favorite player. The judge was feeling accommodating that day and granted Eric the extra 3 years. Eric has now been in prison for 15 years and now says that he regrets his decision. Unfortunately, when Larry was asked about Eric's commitment to his honor, Bird declined to comment. Kobe Bryant is widely known as the 2nd greatest shooting guard of NBA history, but apparently Kobe believed he could have been the best point guard as well. It was midway through the 2013 season and the Lakers were struggling as they were sitting at 7 games below 500. In an attempt to shake up their approach and start winning games, Kobe was moved to the point guard position and focused his energy on being a facilitator. In the next 3 games against Utah, OKC, and New Orleans, Kobe averaged an elite 16.3 points, 13 assists, and 8.7 rebounds on 59% shooting from the field, and the Lakers won all 3 games. After the 3rd game, Kobe was asked in an interview about his newfound love of facilitating, and the Mamba gave credit to his childhood idol, Magic Johnson. When asked how he would do if he committed to being a full-time point guard, Kobe responded by saying, "You think I'm going to sit here and say I wasn't going to be the best?" On April 9, 1978, arguably the greatest scoring battle in NBA history took place between the Nuggets' David Thompson and the Spurs' George Gervin. It was a battle for the NBA scoring crown, as it was the final game of the regular season and the two stars were separated by a total of only 14 points. Thompson was averaging 26.6 points per game and Gervin was averaging 26.8. Thompson's game against the Pistons would come first. He started out extremely hot, hitting 20 of his first 21 shots, and he had 53 points at the end of the first half. By the end of the game, Thompson had scored 73 points on 28 of 38 shooting. Thompson had taken the lead from Gervin for the scoring crown. Gervin would now need to score 59 points to take the lead back from Thompson. A determined Gervin nearly had that in the first half alone, as he closed out the half with 53 points. Gervin stayed in the game just long enough to take the lead back, as he finished the game with 63 points in only 33 minutes. Who was the best player on the greatest team ever assembled? Well, most people think the greatest basketball team was the 1992 USA Dream Team, which featured this trio from this iconic photo: Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. What some may find stunning is that the best player during those Olympics wasn't any of these three legends who usually get all the attention. It was actually the man known as the round mound of rebound, Charles Barkley. Sir Charles was in his prime and was an absolute beast in Barcelona, as he was the team's leading scorer by far while being the most efficient from the field and the most efficient from three-point range. Along with that, he also finished in the team's top 3 spots in rebounds and steals. So boys and girls, remember that when the best of the best came together to compete, no one was better than this guy, not even the one they call the GOAT. Ever since Michael Jordan first took over the NBA in the early 1990s, the media and basketball fans alike have been trying to figure out who was the next Michael Jordan. This was in reference to the next player who'd become the face of the league and dominate anyone who stood in his path. Many people had opinions, but no opinion mattered more than the one from the man himself, Michael Jordan. MJ was asked his opinion in an interview in 1996, and Michael said 2 players, Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway. Both of these players had tremendous talent and their potential was off the charts. But what's most unfortunate is that MJ's words ended up looking like some kind of a curse, as both players had their careers altered by consistent severe injuries. Tragically, we'll never know if they could have lived up to the bar that the GOAT himself thrust upon them. Throughout the decades, there have been many impactful NBA players who were listed under 6 feet tall. Some of the more noteworthy ones would be Muggsy Bogues, who was the shortest player in NBA history at only 5'3". A couple others would be Spud Webb and Nate Robinson, who despite their small frames were able to win NBA dunk contests. But unlike these players, one man was able to dominate during actual games, and his name was Calvin Murphy, aka Pocket Rocket. Murphy is in the Basketball Hall of Fame and is only 5'9" tall, and was an absolute bucket in the 1970s. Despite his disadvantage, he shot close to 50% from the field throughout his career and nearly 90% from the free throw line. At his peak in 1978, he was averaging a whopping 25.6 points per game and is still the NBA's all-time leading scorer of players listed under 6 feet. We all know the story. Wilt Chamberlain was in the middle of individually the most historic season in NBA history, and on March 2, 1962 in Hershey, Pennsylvania, he scored 100 points on 36 of 63 shooting. There's no denying the fact that this is one of the most impressive performances of all time, but what's rarely mentioned is that there's one person specifically who is to blame for this scoring outburst. His name is Phil Jordan. You see, Phil Jordan was a 6'10" center and had the assignment of guarding Wilt Chamberlain. The problem was, he was partying the night before, and his hangover was causing him to vomit constantly on game day. Because of this, he had to sit out, and instead, a skinny Darrell Imhoff, who was 6'10", and the 6'8" Cleveland Buckner had to guard Wilt instead. Wilt took advantage of the laughable mismatches, and the rest is history. I'm on record for saying that this man is the dirtiest player in NBA history, the face of the bad boy Detroit Pistons, Bill Laimbeer. In Larry Bird's own words, Rick Mahorn would try to foul you hard, Bill Laimbeer would try to hurt you. Bill reveled in the fact that he was hated basically everywhere except for Detroit, as he always took full advantage of the fact that the flagrant foul didn't exist yet during his prime. The thing is, one player was finally fed up with him and decided to take matters into his own hands, the Celtics center and trained martial artist Robert Parish. On May 26, 1987, after a scrappy moment under the basket, Parish dropped Lambier with several chops to the face. Maybe the refs were tired of Bill's antics as well, because they didn't eject Parish for this strike, and in fact, they didn't even call a foul. Lambier was never quite as physical with Parish after that instance, and this clip remains as one of the most cathartic images for 80s basketball fans.